What did you think was completely normal in your relationship until somebody pointed out it was weird? Story 1. Waking me up in the middle of the night to continue a fight. I had an ex decide in an argument that he didn't want me sleeping in the bed, so I went into the spare bedroom. He then decided I didn't deserve to have a good night's sleep. His words, because he was losing sleep because of me. He then proceeded to come into the spare bedroom, turn on the lights, rip the blankets off the bed, and leave, only to repeat the 30 to 45 minutes later for the whole duration of the night. Story 2. My first girlfriend, third year of college, was at my side every waking moment. No matter what I was doing, where I was going, any movie, errand, we were never apart. Second girlfriend didn't feel like going to the bookstore with me, and when I looked deflated, she said, "Go without me. We can do different things." Never occurred to me. Story 3. My wife and I have known each other since she moved into my street 32 years ago. We started dating 22 years ago and have been married for about 10 years now. Recently, we had a busy month where one weekend, she was away all day at a bachelor party one day and a bridal shower the next, and I stayed home. The next weekend, I was away for a bachelor party for 3 days, which was just playing Magic, having a LAN party, and going to a retro gaming show while she stayed home. The next weekend, she went away for a crafting retreat thing where she was learning a bunch of new things while I stayed home. The next weekend, we were at a wedding together and were talking with people about what we had been up to, and there was one couple that was just looking at us weirdly like, how could you do that to each other? Story 4. My last girlfriend and I were unclothed in our house. Basically, from the time we entered the house to when we got ready to leave for work, we were both in, at most, boxers or panties. One time a friend was coming over to grab something from me while I was at work. I didn't think about my ex being home at that time, and didn't think to inform either that the other might be there. She was chilling on the couch, completely naked watching TV, and he just came in without knocking, thinking the house was empty. Everyone was chill about it, but he informed me how odd he thought it was that she was just chilling naked. I told him that that's how I live too, and it really blew his mind. Story 5. There's still prejudice when a couple doesn't share a bedroom. In our case, he snores. I have a light sleep. We both move a lot during the night. I'm always cold. He rarely sleeps with blankets. I like to read until later. He likes to sleep earlier than me. We cuddle at night and in the morning. After resting properly, we are keen to see each other. The few nights we shared the same bed and bedroom, I was miserable. Story 6. I didn't have really great parents, guides, mentors, or examples of healthy relationships in my life when I came of dating age, and I'm embarrassed to say that getting emotionally high on arguing in very unhealthy ways was a cornerstone of one of my first relationships. Like, we would mutually instigate really unhealthy fights over little things, and twist the emotional knife deeper and deeper, each like a mutual sadomasochistic circle jerk. As I got older, grew, got therapy, and experienced actual loving relationships, I realized how dark, sad, and weird that time in my life was. Story 7. We always close the door to the bathroom when using it. He's seen me give birth, but we still are a door-closed type of couple and have never seen each other using the toilet. I've had people tell me that you'll get over it eventually, that we must not actually trust each other, or that our relationship is immature because we want privacy in the bathroom. I'm sure it goes both ways. I find it completely crazy that some couples poop in front of each other. Story 8. After 15 years of being married together, my ex and I developed a sort of language that caught some friends off guard. We were at a NYE party, and the small party gathered around the TV to watch the countdown. As we were getting close to the moment, my wife was struggling with a strange remote. So I opened my hand and made the ch sound, meaning, let me have that. Wife responded with doot-doo, meaning, back off, I got this. The homeowner busted out laughing, asking us if we have an entire language built up. We kinda did. Story 9. I always had a need to be with someone as I was growing up, and had an unhealthy home which I'm now dealing with the consequences from, some 30 years later. But for me it was common to basically find whatever girlfriend I could, and just spend as much time as possible with them, basically sleeping over from like age 13, spending most of the time I could with them. Because when I was alone my mind would spiral. The weirdest time in hindsight was when I was 14 and basically dated a group of friends. They would each be together with me, break up with me, but go, "Oh, by the way, my friend X would like to date you now." and I would shrug and date her for a week before she passed me on to the next girl. It all stopped when I met my most impactful friend in my life. She was everything I needed while nothing to me romantically. So I would sleep at her place as often as possible. We always slept close to each other and basically cuddled. But we never did anything more than that, and it showed me that I could just get that comfort without needing to do all the couple stuff of kissing and all that. And it just calmed my mind to a point where I was content for the first time in my life. And I always knew that she'd be a stable point to return to. We spent a good 2 years like that before she basically fell off the map completely. She changed my needs in life, though, so I'm always grateful to her for fixing a small broken piece of me. Story 10. Well, when we first started dating, I got drunk one evening. He helped me to bed, and as I was drifting to sleep, I saw him messing around on my bedside table. Weird, but I was drunk AF and ready to pass out. Anyways, I woke up, and he had put one of those compact Dollar Tree character washcloths that expand when in water in a bowl of water next to my bed. It was a Batman washcloth. So weird and random. Anyways, we've been together for the better half of a decade now. Story 11. Saying, I love you often. When we hang up the phone, we always say it to each other. When we leave for work, etc., we say it. It just comes out randomly. Like, if we're both busy, I'm reading, and him on his game, we'll just check in with an, I love you. I've been on the phone to him before, and we've said love you bye. But then I had to recall him for whatever reason, and we say it again. My friends made a comment about it, and I've noticed when she hangs the phone up with her boyfriend, they don't say it. Like, this is something we have always done, mainly because, say, one of us gets into an accident. We'd feel more kind of at peace, knowing the last thing we ever said to them was that we loved them. Like, even in arguments, we do it. We reassure each other throughout that we love each other. I guess it could stem down to abandonment issues and neglect from his point of view, very troubled past. And with me, I like to make sure he's loved, and it's always lovely being told that. Story 12. I can't remember hearing the words I love you from my family. Until my wife then GF said that line. I don't know, it almost made me feel creeped out. This isn't a movie who says that. Years later, I say it to her every day, and our son, and our dogs. Even when I call my parents now, I can't end a conversation with that phrase, but my family will never know what that's like. My dad told me being home every day doesn't pay the bills. And after thinking about it, I responded, I think I'd have rather spent time with you than having a Game Boy. I used to sit by the big window overlooking the driveway and wait for you to come home. And it probably took a few weeks, but I eventually stopped waiting. And when you came home, you never had time for me anyways. Something my son will never have to know. I'd rather live in a box than miss Christmas. His first step, his first word. Old man just scoffed. The kid hates me for giving him a good childhood. Nah, old man, I don't hate you. I love you. But I can't tell you to your face because I spent my childhood by myself. Never threw a ball, never went to a game together. Hell, you missed 2 Christmases, and after that I just didn't care. Mom was no better. Best part was, they didn't even come to my wedding. Bit of a rant, but my God, people, what I wouldn't give to be a kid and spend some time with my folks. And maybe hear I love you once or twice. So it doesn't feel like a chick flick soap opera line when I hear it as an adult. Getting the ick from another human telling you you're the most important thing to them. My wife must have waited a year for me to say it back. I swear I don't know why she ever said yes. Story 13. Not me, but my ex-girlfriend thought it was normal to yell at her and degrade her, even go as far as to hit her, when she messed up. I'm talking about dropping a cup of messed up water. So after a few weeks of dating, she spilled a cup of noodles and looked absolutely terrified. She had a lot going on, so when I saw it happen, I went to clean it up. She stood there frozen and then started apologizing profusely, before eventually saying she was ready. Me, being confused at this point, just told her it was no big deal and that things happen. Took a minute to clean up and she wasn't hurt, so there was no problem. It took a few months, but even after we broke up, I can look back knowing she can expect better in the future. Story 14. Codependency. Apparently, it's not normal to text every single day, most hours of the day into the next morning, and have an intense sense of neediness and anxiety over what the other person is doing or feeling. The amount of arguments we had because we couldn't actually read each other's minds over text was insane. Emotional manipulation was a big part of it too, on both ends, and it wasn't very nice to be a part of. Combine that with my immense immaturity coming from practically absent parents and being chronically depressed, lead to a bad thing for everyone involved. Also, being 15 didn't help. So much regret now that I know better. Story 15. My husband and I have been cohabitating for almost 10 years. Neither of us has raised our voices, yelled, or been in a fight. We both grew up in households where loud, vicious fighting went on daily. We are not conflict avoidant nor passive aggressive. We calmly, respectfully handle our issues with a team state of mind. I don't know where we learned this way, but we got together pretty young, 21, 24, so it's not exactly like anyone taught us. It still baffles friends and family that we've never had a dramatic or loud fight. Story 16. My husband and I built our friendship on martial arts and sports. He and I fight, I guess a bit rougher than most couples, and I've been pulled aside and asked if everything was okay. He's never violent or mean. I'm usually giggling the whole time, and it's fun. Same thing with football. I love to play football and hate when guys throw it wimpy to me just because I'm female. My husband and I actually throw to each other, and people, again, thought he was being mean till I threw it to them. We genuinely are just competitive, and we enjoy having fun that way. I completely understand why some could see it that way. He's almost 6 feet, and I'm pretty short LOL, but putting him in a triangle or guillotine is hilarious to me. Story 17. I used to work a very labor-intensive industrial job for years. Occasionally, after long 13-hour shifts, I would dream about my job. I saw more severe injuries and deaths on my job than what is probably typical for most. If that day of work was particularly bad, I would occasionally have intense nightmares of my coworkers, or myself, getting injured or killed in intense ways. This sometimes caused me to yell, talk, or sob in my sleep. My ex, who I lived with at one point and shared a bed together, would always wake me up and make me go downstairs and sleep on the vinyl couch in the living room. Sometimes the next morning he would complain about me, keeping him up with my nightmares while he was getting ready for his work. He worked at a fast food place for 4 to 6 hours a day and was lucky to get a 30-plus hour week. When I got out of the relationship and temporarily crashed at my friend's place for a bit, she was very appalled by this. Didn't even realize how screwed up it actually was beforehand. Story 18. Not me, but a friend. He met a lovely woman, married her. We were all delighted for them. Things changed after the wedding. She put her biometrics on his devices, so she has access to everything. If my wife or any other female messages him, she'll respond to him, whether that's a friend or a business client. She goes where he goes. They're very rarely apart. She's now put a tracker on his phone, so the rare occasion they are apart, she can track his movements. It's like he's under her spell. He won't hear a bad word about her and has started mirroring some of her paranoid behaviors. It's not healthy, it's crazy, and I don't know how to help him. Story 19. I wake up before my partner, now fiancé, most days for work, and every day I leave her a note on the fridge and wake her up to give her a kiss goodbye to wish her a safe and happy day. And I tell her I love her. I spoke to colleagues not long ago, and they said it's unusual to actually wake her from her sleep. It was established that most of the couples in my workplace actually leave the house without waking the other up. This, I'm told, is to avoid disturbing their sleep. I tell her I love her often, and every time I get off the phone or I leave the house. And she does the same. Both come from homes growing up without much love or the vocalization of it. So we tell each other constantly. Story 20. We fight about weird stuff. I would call it talking, at most a heated debate, but one night my mom came down to break up a fight when she stopped in the doorway to me shouting, "No, no." They immigrated in the 800s from Rajasthan, not the 1200s. How would they get to Europe that fast? That makes zero sense. DNA evidence clearly shows blah, blah, blah. We've been together for 16 years, and we still get into ridiculous arguments that usually involve us Googling something to settle it and then arguing over a different aspect of it. Honestly, we probably talk to everyone like this, but when you put us together, we just escalate it to a roaring good time. Story 21. When I was married to my ex-wife, I would write her notes every day. Things I liked about her, little puns, one free cuddle, coupons, and stuff like that. I set up a date night for us every week. I'm disabled, so it wasn't ever anything big. Sometimes it was just making a pillow fort together and watching Disney movies with her. We cuddled every day before bed. I just kind of assumed this is the sort of stuff couples did for each other. After my divorce, I've realized why it's weird, and will never make the mistake of doing that stuff again. Story 22. This just happened today, actually. An unexpected person reached out to see how the kids and I are doing after my husband and I split a few weeks ago. He moved out of state to be near family, and so we've been kind of just roughing it, trying to claw out a new normal. The person that reached out was never close with me, but wanted to share some behaviors they've observed in him, husband, over the years. I was nervous speaking to them because I sort of felt paranoid that they were going to report anything I said back to my husband, but they seemed to genuinely care. They said, "Don't you feel like husband was, how do I put this? Like he was constantly seeking validation or attaboys, going out of his way to fall on a sword he'd put in front of himself so he could say, 'Look at what I've done for person. Aren't I such a good person?'" At the time of the call, I felt it was harsh, and I didn't agree or disagree. Just kind of said, "Oh, interesting observation." But I've been sitting here with it all day, replaying interactions I've had with him, interactions I've witnessed between him and others. And yeah, damn, interesting observation indeed. Story 23. I'm trying to wrap my head around the feeling that my occasional drinking of maybe 1 or 2 drinks a week makes me have a drinking problem, according to my wife, because bottles of liquor in our basement bar have been drunk or emptied after a year or longer. The bigger problem is she looks for reasons to hate me and scream at me on a monthly basis, and I'm reaching my limit. But my requests for her to get help get answered with, "There's nothing wrong with me. Sorry, it's just 4 a.m. where I am, and I can't sleep because my mind is a bit everywhere." My 40th birthday is a few days away, and deep inside, I didn't want to celebrate at all because I knew it would get ruined in some way, and it's looking like I'm right. Story 24. Liking each other. Seriously, we don't fight. We sometimes have disagreements but solve them like adults. But more often than not, we're on the same page. We don't bicker or snipe at each other. We enjoy being around each other. We miss each other when we're apart. We each talk about the other person constantly. We say, "I love you," about once every 5 minutes. We've been together almost 9 years, and if anything, we're more cuddly and doe-eyed than we were during the honeymoon phase. So many people seem absolutely miserable with their partner, and it breaks my heart. Why are you with someone if you dislike them? Why do you want to be with someone that makes you angry? Why would you want to actively try to hurt the person who is supposed to be your best friend? Story 25. Damn, y'all chose the sad crap. Sorry to see that. Been with my partner for a little over 6 years now, and it didn't really cross my mind until I was asked, but my partner and I have approximately one shared interest. I'm an extrovert. Love going to small chill parties, hanging with friends, and generally being outside. My miss is practically a vampire. She basically abhors social settings to the point where she's somehow only met like 4 of my friends the entire time and hates exercise. My one friend tries getting me to bring my partner for double or triple dates pretty much monthly, and every time I'll say that, I'll ask. But she's going to say no. At one point, my friend asked if it ever bothers me that we're so different, and it took zero hesitation to say, "I don't care." At the end of the day, I've seen so many older couples who basically crumble because they don't know how to be away from each other. I take pride in knowing that I can spend all day on a hike or at my friend's, and she'll be reading, and I can come home and watch her favorite shows together. Story 26. Not about one relation, but all my relations as a whole. A close friend of mine once told me that I get into serious relationships only with my girl best friends. By that point, I came out of my second serious relationship, and when he said that, it hit me hard and can't completely explain how it felt. Until then, I didn't think of it as abnormal. Now add to it, both of them are primary school teachers and have bi tendencies. Now, cut down to a few years later, I was very good friends and FWB with another girl who sometimes gets into teaching jobs and was with girls in her past. We live in different countries, so we stayed as friends. I feel like it's a weird coincidence, but in another way, it does bother me. Story 27. Me and my boyfriend don't have an actual anniversary date despite being together for 6 years now. We got together unexpectedly, and I've never been good with keeping track of dates, so once I finally noticed we didn't, it was too late to go back and figure it out exactly. We do know it is sometime in July. So now I pick a random day in July to schedule a nice dinner and tell the restaurant it's our anniversary. Without telling my boyfriend, they usually come out with glasses of champagne or a nice dessert for us, and my boyfriend is always surprised. We always have a good laugh about it, and I get so excited to plan it every year. Story 28. My husband is actually the one that pointed it out. I will call him on my way to work after I drop the kids off for school. I'll then call him on my break, then my lunch break, maybe my afternoon break, and then again on the way home. I have done this for the last 8 years, and it's never occurred to me that other couples don't call their spouse several times throughout that day until last week, in the dead silence of a routine lunchtime phone call. My husband asked why I called. There was not a single reason, and it occurred to me that I'd have more to talk about when I got home if I toned down the phone calls. Story 29. Had a girlfriend that started off great, and when the dust settled and she was no longer on her best behavior, her actual personality started coming out, and it was a crazy contrast. Corrective language, impatience, always being confronted any time I didn't just radiate energy towards her. Her friends never noticed until one night, and I explained to them how she actually was, and it floored them. It was exhausting, and I ultimately dumped her after unsuccessful attempts at having a conversation about how her behavior that she passed off as being blunt was affecting me. It felt very manipulative and controlling, yet she was always super sweet and caring as long as the topics were about her and validating her. 0 out of 10 would not be recommended. Story 30. Her parents don't like me, and she never wanted to stand up for me against them. A friend recently said that one of the core values in his relationship is that partners are responsible for their own parents and to keep their partner safe from them. I basically gave up parts of my very essence every time we met, because afterwards her parents mentioned to her all the things I did wrong again this visit, and she in turn then informed me. That crap hurt for 2 years and left me an emotionally drained husk.